what about Farscape are you most proud of?
There's so many things I'm proud of. But to me, it's the fact that if you watch it today, it's sustained. The effects, the performances, every aspect of it is something that's really stands up, I think, in a way. And also, there's a number of things that have come since where the makers have said that their inspirations. And that I'm very proud of.
Such as perhaps Guardians of the Galaxy?
Maybe getting there.
Ben, do you have anything to say about Guardians of the Galaxy?
Mr. Gold!
Well, I'll jump on the thing which is I think I'm most proud of, and that's to be a part of something which is art, not product. Art endures, art moves. Product is there for a minute to make a buck, and I think that Farscape is art, which is why it holds up today, which is why it looks, which is why all of you guys are here, because it is art which you relate to, hopefully, and we never underestimated the intelligence of our audience. So, as to Guardians of the Galaxy, man, I think it's great, especially the second one.
This is Mr. Gold.
So, Claudia, I think we all realize here that Aaron evolved amazingly and enormously over the course of the series. But I was wondering, what about Aaron never changed?
She wanted to kick Crichton's ass.
Yeah, her love of guns and her love of her man. Those were her two constants, guns and Crichton.
And his underwear.
And occasionally more than one Crichton.
Yeah, Calvin?
Anthony, I must say you were looking remarkably hale for a dead man.
Welcome back.
Dargo lives.
I think we've been your rebellion already.
We never saw a body. Dargo
What do you think
lives.
about, Dargo's grand and glorious demise?
There's no body. Sci-fi. Dargo lives. I was super upset when they talked to me about it, and you never know what's going to come. But dear friend of ours who's now departed, Andrew Prowse, who was a producer and director on the show, he said, "Don't worry, we're going to shoot it in a way where anything's possible. Don't get upset. Things will be fine." So just leaving the possibilities open. But regardless of one way or the other, whether he's dead or whether he's not, yeah, it was a great. I enjoyed the moments with the cast on that day on set. It was weird because it wasn't my last day of shooting, so it wasn't like my goodbye day. That was quite upsetting, the actual goodbye day. But I enjoyed the connection to each of the cast as they were coming through. Yeah, kneeling at my crutch, gun in hand.
I'm not touching
look me
that.
in the eye. Look me in the eye like you hate me, and then we're all good to go.
Gigi, what do you think Gianna is up to these days?
Stop putting your thing in my face, Anthony.
If I had $1.
I don't know what Chiana's up to, but I know what Gigi's up to, and what we're up to now is one of the highlights of my absolute life. And it's because of you guys, to be hanging out with this beautiful Farscape family again. It was very emotional last night, putting on my makeup. My guy's like, oh my God, if you started now, we're in trouble. I don't know whether you guys know, but this is a proper, true reunion. A lot of these guys, we haven't seen each other for many years. So thank you so much for allowing this to happen.
Lonnie, you are actually here representing not one, but two, count them, two characters. what was it like to play two different characters on the show? Two major characters.
Well, you had to be slightly twisted, I think, just to play those two characters, and that's what it felt like. It was kind of psychotic. But I bought some lines actually for pilot, which I found when I was packing. So there's not many people knew that I was actually doing two roles, even the crew, until we used to have Friday night screenings, and then the credits would roll up and the crew would go, oh, pilot, oh, should you do pilot too? I'm going, yeah. And that's so yeah, it was great. I mean, I was
something about how very different those voices, those characters were that, no, if I didn't read credits, I wouldn't have a clue that they were the same.
Thank you.
Who's behind them, yes.
Thank you.
So, Ken. Okay, between, in fact, Sequest, Galactica 1980, and Farscape, you are a genuine sci-fi veteran. Do you feel a special affinity for science fiction?
No, it just kind of happened.
Well,
Actually, you know, for those of you who don't know, I was originally signed to do Galactica, Battlestar Galactica. And because of the network differences and things that happened, I didn't, and then wound up doing what was supposed to be the revival of Galactica with Galactica 1980. And Glenn and I had set out to do The Day the Earth Stood Still, to be a character who came from outer space to create peace on Earth. And we wound up in a Sunday night 7 o'clock time slot where they insisted we have children, which destroyed the whole show and was not one of the highlights of my life. However, one of the highlights of my life was, I just shared this with Rodney just a while ago, was working with Roy Scheider on Sequest, and I became a recurring on Sequest. And then I shared this yesterday with some of the people that it was 2 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning when I got a call, and I don't know if you were on the other end of this call or not, Rodney, but David Kemper called. And he said, "Are you awake?" to me, and I said, "I am now." And he said, "Do you have a passport? Current passport?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Are you doing anything this week?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Would you like to come down to Australia? We're doing this show that I told you about a couple of years ago called Sequest, or Farscape, and we'd love to have you come down and play Dad." I said, "I'm on the way." And that was the way that my life with this wonderful group of actors began. I got on an airplane that night at 10 o'clock, wound up in Sydney, Australia at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, brought my own wardrobe, went to wardrobe, they looked at it, they said, "Wear this, this, and this. Great, you're the first person completely wardrobed on this show." And worked the next day, did ADR, got back on a plane. You and I were flying back. It was my 57th birthday. We crossed the international date line. I turned 56 again. So I didn't know if I became 114 or, you know, whether I was, but Rock and I, you know, we shared the flight back. I was gone from my house in Hollywood for 105 hours. Thought I would never return because we shot Ben off through a wormhole and he was gone. When I then received another call saying we've created a way to bring you back, which then I became the second character on the show, which I'm forever grateful, to tell you the truth.
No, I remember flying back with you, and it's an overnight flight. So I literally tell people that I've slept with Kim McCoy.
I thought that was just a rumor.
You heard it here first, folks. Well, in that case, I think, I don't want to hawk the mic too long. Do we have people ready at the mic for the audience? Where is that?
We do.
Okay, good. We have the first question from the audience.
Hi, my name is Erin. This is for everyone. I was wondering, what's it like to know that you're part of a multi-generational fandom?
What's it like to know you're part of a multi-generational fandom?
name? Or you?
That is my legal birth name.
That's fabulous.
Last name Sun.
Well, no, Farscape was at a time, kind of the earliest days of social interaction between fans and the audience and the makers of the show. So it's great that it began as early as that, and to just kind of watch it continue has been terrific. And the very fact that it's 20th anniversary and yeah, we've got a crowd like this here is pretty remarkable. It's really remarkable.
I have to comment, by the way, my local comic book shop owner named his first child Aaron and spelled it A-E-R-Y-N as well. So it's moving up there on the baby book names.
I don't know if you guys realize, but a lot of us are quite big geeks as well. Just to prove the point, my daughter's name, who's 11 months old, her first name is Sky and her middle name's Walker. We're right there with you.
She's adorable.
The next contestant then.
Hi, this is towards the director. I guess everyone there. I keep hearing rumors about Farscape coming back, being set with Crichton's child. Is there any truth to that?
We are not done with Farscape.
Thank you.
Brian and I both, we hate to keep saying be patient, but I'll say it one more time here today, but we are truly, things are in the works to bring it back. So it's very helpful to us that it's currently airing again on Amazon. Rewatch, get your friends to watch, give it high scores there. That's going to be super helpful to us. But Brian and I are in constant communication about this, and things are being prepared for that. So keep your fingers crossed.
Guys, I'm Daryl. Some of you may know me. I've seen you a few times. Welcome, thanks for coming back. Real quick question, we were talking many times. We love the show because we can identify with all the characters, even if you're not quite 100% of that character. Do any of you want to answer? Has there ever been like a character you're like, that really should be my line?
This is actually a phenomenon which would occur on set, where there were occasions where we would read through the scene and someone like Andrew Krause, who's hugely responsible for, God bless him, for what you see in the finished product. We would read through a scene and then it would be, okay, what are we going to lose? Wait a minute, that sounds like a Dargo line. Anthony, you got that line? It was horrifying for anyone who was coming onto the set for the first time, because they'd gone home and learned all of their lines, as you're supposed to do. And we were well aware that the way we were operating on Farscape, which was, we were constantly adjusting. We would show up on set and there would be a creature described in the text as a monstrous, horrible creature, and he looks like tandoori chicken. So you now have to adjust, and it's no longer called this, oh, that's the tandoori chicken. So, but it often happened that because of either the way the scene is blocked, or also because, well, it doesn't exactly sound like Crichton. Would Gianna say that? And then Gigi would pick it up and she would say it. So there was a fluidity about it. Didn't happen all the time, but it certainly did happen. And then sometimes there would be adjustments. That goes on all TV shows to some degree, except the TV shows where the executive producer writer is there on lockdown. But it certainly happens in film that producing a television show like Farscape is a collaborative art form. The writers give you this great stuff to work with, and then all of the departments go away and create and build upon it, and then you get on set and you build upon it, and then they get into the edit and they save your performance, or they make your performance better, and then the music comes on top of it. So yes, that certainly happened, but that's only part of an entire process, which means that thousands of people poured their soul and their heart into the art which is Farscape.
I'd like to add to that, because you hear a lot of artists and actors talk about the word collaboration, because it's a collaborative art form. but there's a necessary hierarchy on a film set that enables efficiency. And if you didn't have that hierarchy, sets can become quite chaotic. So to be able to break down that hierarchy in an efficient way on Farscape is something actually that links to the first question today, which is something I am most proud of. This was a collaborative endeavour. If someone on set went, this line's better, you didn't have someone from the writing room come down and go, well, that's the way I write it, that's the way you're going to say it, that's the way it's going to be. We all trusted each other's judgment. And I have been a small sort of spectator in my career on large Hollywood films, right down to student films. And I have never seen this sense of, let's just all get in and muck in and do our best to collaborate. Let's take the best idea, whether it's visual, verbal, emotional, and that's what I'm most proud of, the fact that we allowed and were generous enough with each other to give each other that power, that authority, that sense of, you take it. If that's your best idea, let's go for it, let's run with it. And I don't think I ever heard anyone with their back up over changes. I can't recall any anyway. People just yielded. It was like good improvisation, you know? The idea is you get an offer and you yield, and there was that sense on set in Farscape. Someone's made an offer, I yield. Someone's made an offer, I yield. That never happens, and that was amazing.
It is, and I can only think of one occasion in 88 episodes where an actor said, "That's my line." Once. And there were adjustments, and I gotta add on to this, that I repeatedly said, I would come to set and I would make my decision about what to do. I would turn and I would look at Claudia Black and I would simply react to what she did. Because I knew that she was going to be giving better than I could give out of, you know, from the recesses of my brain. And you know, I've said, but you know I've said it, and it's true. I would turn up and go, what's Ant's gonna do? What's Gigi gonna do? You had to react what Gigi was gonna do. What does that mean to this? This is not quite what I expected when I read the script, but inevitably it made the show much better. And I have to say that the writing staff was incredibly supportive of this stuff. To the degree that a writer can say, yeah, no, that made it better. We didn't make it better 100% of the time. There were probably times we made it worse, but they were supportive of our endeavors to make it better, and that was top to bottom.
Hi, my name is Linda. This is for Anthony. We have a saying in the Farscape fandom that you're not really dead until your Dirkus head on a stick dead. So Dargo lives.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Kelly. This is probably directed more towards Rocky, but anybody can really answer. So the theme song, it sounds like it's the ancients that are speaking to John in a couple different episodes. I don't have translator microbes, but I'm hoping that you do. What are they saying, or do you know what they're saying?
Want to know what the music in the theme song is saying?
That's quite interesting. It's really just, it's tribal. It's not any specific land, but that's fodder for the future. That's
There we go.
keep watching, because it made sure that to be actually pretty awesome.
Hi guys, my name is Stella. You guys were talking about the art form, you know, the art that is Farscape, and I want to talk about the art of makeup. I'm a special effects makeup artist. This show really inspired me to become a makeup artist and get into special effects. And I know all of you wore makeup at some point, special effects makeup at some point, some of you more than others. And I just want you guys to talk about your experience. To you guys.
I mean, I would love Gigi to speak to this as well, and Anthony, because they were absolute warriors who came in very early and had a lot of patience watching there and helping to have their costumes and their makeup to develop over the years so it could become more efficient and more doable, because it was, the whole agenda with the Henson Company was to do something that was at the quality of film but at the pace of television. which really impacted the actors, I would say most, especially the ones in these amazing makeups. But what I've noticed personally is the level of detail that went into the design of these makeups that, you know, several years on when I had to wear the Chiana makeup, one of the people who was in, when we went on to do Stargate and they did a spoof of Farscape, I had spent enough time observing the process that would happen with Chiana, and they were going to do a really sort of, you know, surface job. And I said, no, if you want to make this look realistic, what they did with Chiana's wig was to dye the roots black, because that makes it look realistic, like real hair. And then the way you get the effect is you wash it and then you turn it upside down and let it dry overnight upside down. And there were all these things that I'd learned as a result of observing, and it really gave me such a respect for the difference in culture on different sets, where the detail that went into the design of these made all the difference on screen. But you guys can speak to it way more than I can.
Loved every second of it. It's so awesome to play a creature that's not invented yet, you know, because so often you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a cop, you're a robber, you're a good, you know, there's all these characters that we are fortunate enough to play, but how often is it that you get to be involved in the Jim Henson universe and play a creature that no one's ever thought of? So she made me so brave. It was just such a beautiful process. I loved every second of it. I would have dreams where the makeup was stuck on my face and I was okay with it. She was so beautiful. And it's just, as you guys were saying before, you guys gave us so much artistic license to really create those characters, like the movements and the different intonations, and the creators allowed us to really put our organic choices into those creatures, which I think is why you guys connect so deeply with them, because they're not perfect and they are very interesting and are just beautiful. I loved every moment of it. And even in the very first look of Chiana, I think apparently she was meant to look more like Sokozu in the Peacekeeper Wars, and the makeup supervisor saw the audition tape and went, no, that look's not going to work for this girl's face. So she actually created Chiana's look for this audition tape that I did. And then this beautiful supervisor now has gone on to win Oscars for Mad Max and all sorts of things, Leslie Vanderbilt. So yeah, just loved every moment of it.
We were also part of something where, technologically speaking, things were shifting very rapidly. Garner McLennan, who did the original CGI, was doing something groundbreaking, really. The way that Moya was realized, the production values that ended up on screen was extraordinary. And the same was happening in the creature shop. They were inventing a technology for makeup that shifted, which Anthony can speak to, from foam latex, which is the way it was normally created, to this silicone-based makeup, which they then ended up using with Scorpius, which we got to try as well.
It's like hot flesh, they think they call it?
Hot flesh, yeah. Which transformed the industry.
Yeah, to sound like a hippie for a moment, I'm a massive believer in human potential. If you give a talented person with a will to succeed the opportunity and the space to grow, experiment, make mistakes, and then move on, then you're going to get amazing things, whether it's in an office, a film set, a sports field. And that the creature shop team, amongst other parts of the production, had that opportunity. Is not for nothing that out of Farscape you have Leslie with an Academy Award, Dave Elsey with an Academy Award, Elke Wardiger with an Academy Award, Damien Martin with an Academy Award. I mean, they learnt their chop, maybe not Leslie perhaps, maybe not Dave either, but certainly Elke and Dave, they really cut their chops on Farscape. They were my makeup artists for Elke's season 2, Dave for season 2 and 3, and then Dave was looking after me even through right to the end. They are amazing. Write this down. Damien Martin, super close friend of mine. He owns a business now called Odd Studio. They're one of the best prosthetic and practical effects businesses in the world. So if you want to go and look at Odd Studio, go and check that out. Check out their Instagram feed, and you will see how that has developed over time. I did want to say something else, but it's escaped me. Amazingly talented people. We're privileged to be there. And it wasn't just aesthetics, it was look. And it was about how can you perform through this. I've worked with some prosthetics people where it's just about the maquette. You know what I mean? I've designed it like this, it looks like that, go and try and perform in it. But all the creature shop were like, well, how can you work this to get the best performance that you can? It's why our makeups evolve over time, the thickness of the latex, moving into hot flesh, the way it moves. I mean, I couldn't move my neck hardly season one, and you work with that and you do your best. But they saw that, they noticed it. How can we work with this? How can we make it happen? You cannot stick a Dargo mask on someone else and have it look like Dargo. I don't look like Dargo, but no one looks like Dargo if you put that makeup on their face. The exact same thing can be there. It works to your face, and that's the same for all the characters. And you see that when these guys got to put on the Scorpius makeup and things like that, it changes it. It absolutely changed it. So for me, it was their focus on performance and the ability to get a performance rather than a look. I think that's all.
Actually, I'm going to piggyback on this question. You talked about performing through prosthetics. Ronnie, what was it like performing as Pilot, where you're creating a character through a giant Henson designed Muppet?
He put on 800 pounds to play that role. and Ken dropped like 150 pounds to play an ancient. So you can say it's about the prosthetics, but really it's about the actor in the movie.
Initially, in the first few days or weeks of filming, I would go on set and read for pilots until logistically, when we were running 2 to 3 units, filming day by day, then I would actually have to go on set as Crace and then come back and do ADR for pilot. So I ended up, I only spent a few days on set, beside the camera, doing pilot's lines. But when you see Pilot, the mechanics of Pilot, it's pretty amazing. With a team of 3 to 4 people, it was just incredible that these wonderful puppets were kind of moving. And the thing is, and this is the crazy thing, when Grace would work with, say, Rigel, I never saw Rigel. I didn't see the puppet there. I saw Rigel. So when I was responding to Rigel as a character, and that was the beauty of this wonderful work that these people were doing, so that we could inhabit this kind of other make-believe universe and go out there and talk to DRDs and talk to Rigel as if they were characters. So Pilot for me was a character, and Pilot's the whole thing. The impetus for me for Pilot was really caring for everybody on the ship, caring for Moy. That was it. Whereas Crace had a whole other agenda in there.
A couple of agendas.
Just a couple, not many.
Okay, next.
Hi. My question is, you can answer it. It's in regards to the
Could you lean closer to the mic, please?
Okay, my question is in regards to the opening monologue. Is it supposed to be an homage to $6 million? Same sort of idea?
That's a really interesting observation. No, it is not. No. That's really interesting. No.
My husband and I heard back to that.
The question was the opening monologue by Fred, the voiceover, a homage to $6 Million Man. And it wasn't, no, it was not.
My name is John. The question is directed to Ben. We've talked about how you act, the aliens act and stuff, and the prosthetics used. However, my question is more of why are humans superior?
The question was, why are humans superior?
Crackers don't matter.
Yeah, I think chocolate and milk and beer. Beyond that, I think it's all up for debate.
And pop cultural references.
We have time for another question if there is anyone to come up to the microphone.
Well, I would like to throw in one last question. I don't think we can have the 20th anniversary here without taking a moment to remember our favorite Dominar. Does anyone have any special memories of Jonathan Hardy?
Yeah, I have very special memories of Jonathan Hardy because he was my second artistic director in an Auckland theatre called Mercury Theatre, and so I came from a community-based co-op theatre, and it wasn't co-op, theatre going across to a 700-seater proscenium arch theatre where he was my artistic director, and then years later, working together on the show. So I have very, very fond memories of Jonathan, and I saw him in the hospital, and I'd said goodbye to him that afternoon, thinking that I would come back 3 or 4 days later to see him, and then we got the call out that he very sadly passed away. So that was pretty tough. But the wonderful thing is that when you hear his voice, when you hear Rigel's voice, it just comes flooding back, So his corporeal body's left, he's just left this amazing kind of, who he is, the spirit of who he is right there in his delivery, Dominar Rigel. So, yeah.
Well, actually,
he was like Rigel. He isn't Dominar.
Anybody else want to just talk about Jonathan Hardy? Or we should talk about also Virginia Hay, who sadly cannot be with us today, but we want to talk about, Virginia Hay's contribution to the show.
Well, I mean, it was massive, and also Virginia made a very important decision because they were originally going to not shave her head and put prosthetics on her head. And she was the one that made the call and looked at the makeup, and it looked like, I can't remember the character's name from another sci-fi show, but you could almost sort of see that it had been made out of foam. It looked a little bit like the surface of the alien world in Contact when it finally comes above the water, and it had those sort of colours and it had the circles in it. And Virginia was the one that took a look at it. I mean, no one has the bone structure and the head shape and the gloriousness that Virginia does. But that's a hugely brave choice to make. And she looked at her form and said, this isn't going to work, I have to shave my head. And there are very few actors who would make that choice, certainly at that time, for that kind of role. And then Leslie was able to work with this extraordinary palette and canvas that she had, which was Virginia, to develop that role, which is so iconic to the show too, because she was used as the poster child literally for the show when we launched, because everyone's always looking for something exotic, and she really represented that and was emblematic in a lot of ways. And the level of design that went into it, Leslie started collaborating with the costume department, and I remember the day that she came into the makeup room and she said, can you just, oh, that's interesting. Look at that lace that they've put onto her costume now. Can I have a piece of that lace? Have you got a spare piece? And that became the stencil that created all of the detail on Virginia's makeup. So watching all of that evolve over time, and Virginia being such a key part of that, it's really, and then the sacrifice that Zan makes on the show as well. Spoilers, is everyone caught up to that?
I think we are way beyond the spoiler zone at this point.
God. Okay.
Hi, my name is Denise. This is directed to all of you. What are you currently working on and doing? And specifically, are you still playing music? Signal Room's on my playlist.
So I bought a beautiful Les Paul with my DragonCon money. I'm a bad guitarist who has way too expensive guitars. My talent does not warrant the beautiful guitars that I have. No, but I don't work in the arts or film at all anymore. I don't have agents or any of those things. I leave up to these amazing talented people. But yes, but as an act of pleasure, yes, I'm writing songs with the guys from that band at the moment. That's our sort of our leisure that we get together as old guys with guitars and writing songs, and we find it a very pleasurable, relaxing thing to take your mind away from the busyness of running a business.
Anybody else want to plug in? Talk about what they're doing now or any present projects or.
We've got this beautiful little film that a lot of you guys help us make called Hashtag.
Yes.
Thank you so much to everyone that supported the journey. It's gone around the festival circuit. It's continuing to go around the festival circuit right now, and it's getting such amazing recognition. So I thank you from my heart and soul for that. And we want to turn that into a full-length feature or an anthology series. It's kind of like Black Mirror. And then I also do a lot of music as well, so I do the Comic-Cons and have been doing this other really cool tour called the Wonderland Tour, which was a complete fan-run tour. Thank you. And I travelled around with my brother, going all around the world, 6 months pregnant, and then again for a couple of months this year as well, coming into your town and your Comic-Con or your restaurant or your night venue or your concert halls, and we've just had the best time traveling around doing this music with you guys, so thank you so much.
And I'm currently working on growing old gracefully and hoping that the phone rings at 2 o'clock on a Monday morning from a phone call from Kemper and Rock saying we're going to do this again.
Is your passport in order? Is your passport in order?
Yes, but only till 2004, right? 2024, I'm sorry.
I'm my day job at the moment. I'm a show called Evil. It's on CBS. Working with Robert and Michelle King on that. I love them. Love the show. I'm really excited about that. It's my day job. And then additionally, I'm working with a little company to try to bring back one of my shows from the past. So that's my passion project.
Hi, my name is George. This is for Lonnie. How do you felt race changed over time, and which part of it did you like and did you not like about his character?
Which part did I not like about his character? I loved everything about his character. I mean, what's not to like about Chris? Seriously. I think he and John Crichton would have been good mates on another level. But I think he was a great foe. And I think that's where the fun for me came in. Seeing this character, John Crichton. And there was, I guess there was a sort of a respect in there in a way, when you look back at the stories, the storylines. We had some great scenes together, some fantastic scenes. I must admit, when I saw the, because I actually tested for Dargo. Anthony and I tested for Dargo until on a Friday afternoon my agent called and said, no, it's gone the other way. And I said, Pup. On the other hand, I went, wow, that means I don't have to go in to makeup at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's okay. I didn't even know about Crace until my agent called again and said, there's a character called Captain Crace that they want you to read for in the Bible. So I went and had a look at the Bible and I said, okay, all right, let's have a go with this. And well, I had a lot of fun. So the story arc that I was given, I just knew that I didn't know where it would end and how it would end. And then I was given an episode where I was just reading, and all of a sudden, he gets blown up. And I went, hang on a minute, whoa, let's just back the truck up a little bit here. What do you mean he gets blown up? Skip to the end, that's it. I think I rang Kemper and went, He was nowhere to be found. Nobody was nowhere to be found.
We never saw the body, right?
Never saw it. However, that final scene in the show for me is one of the best things I have ever attempted as an actor. It was an amazing day. And it was quite emotional because I knew that this was the last scene I was going to have with the crew in front of me. And you know, there's always this phrase when you complete a job, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a wrap for whatever character it is. You know that's it. And so it was a kind of a, you know, I set out in the morning to the location, to the set, did my stuff, and we just walked through the scene, the final scene there. So and they set up the camera below, and I thought, well, we're getting close to the end here. Let's go out in a really great way. Make it really simple, sweet, and a goodbye, you know, for this character on Talon. And I think the words go, Talon, Starburst. And that was it. The lights went up, that's it. And the crew just clapped and said, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a wrap for yours truly. So, but what's left, ladies and gentlemen, is why we're here. The legacy of it will continue on for a long, long time. And intergenerational, absolutely. I have seen young people come up and go, my mother, my parents, got me to watch the show. I'm standing here now with my children. And I mean, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think you have time for one last question here.
Why, thank you. I'm happy to have one last question. My name is Robert. I'm a big fan of the show. When the show first started out, obviously to be a crazy, wild sci-fi adventure like the likes we've never seen, was it really intended to be one of the most passionate love stories ever to come down the pike in sci-fi?
It was very common at the time to have shows like Cheers and things where it's always like, will they, won't they, that sort of thing. And the way I pitched the show, and it was always at the part of the show, was I wanted this romance. I wanted it to take a long time, but I wanted it to be a true romance. And the icon I gave was I wanted it to be like you'd see on a 1950s sci-fi novel, kind of pulp novel of a man and a woman together who are kind of bonded as one against everything else out there. But it was always intended to be very much a passionate, never a question of affair that would ultimately lead to what it did.
I'm happy to jump in and go out on a limb here and say that, in my opinion, the epic saga of, John and Aaron is the best romance in science fiction and fantasy. I'm sorry, Scully and Mulder. I'm sorry, Xena and Gabrielle. John and Aaron are number one.
Before I hand the mic to Claudia, who I think really needs to answer this question because I think she's the heart of it. I have to say that with the writing staff and with the cast that we had, the depth of relationships and their twists and their turns all the way through, I can go down the line. They became lovers, they became husband and wife, they became parents. They were at odds, enemies, they became brothers. They became basically an older sibling and a younger sibling, they became family. The person who was the source of danger and the embodiment of vengeance flips, and he becomes the object of Crichton's vengeance, exposing Crichton as the human that he is, that he can't let go of vengeance while the Sebastian can. They were fathers and sons removed and trying to find a way to relate to one another, that all of the relationships in the show, I think, had great depth and potential. But I want Claudia to finish this answer. because I would like to hear what she has to say about it.
And so it went on set. No, honestly, I mean, it was, necessity really was the mother of invention for us in a lot of ways, but there was also pressure from the people who were signing the checks, and they knew what was going to make it commercially successful. And so we were always wanting to fulfill all of our individual desires for the show and or work together and try and make something that works for everyone. But at the heart of it, I mean, there were a couple of episodes where Ben and I ended up at a crossroads very early on, and, you know, something had come in and Crichton was supposed to have this, it seemed like we were starting to go into a formula of the Shatner-esque Alien Girl of the Week thing with Crichton. And it didn't feel right in my body. It didn't feel like that was Rockney's original intention, and you and I had never had this conversation, but I always, as an actor, when I read a script, it's sort of like, you know, like a canvas to me, and I think, oh, well, like a song, and I think, I know what colour my character brings to that canvas. And in my bones and in every cell of my DNA, I felt like this had the potential to be an extraordinary love story. And Ben and I had the most amazing instant chemistry from the screen test on. Like, it was just literally as we were walking down the hallway, we started reading the lines and didn't have to work a day in our lives after that together, really, apart from all the, you know, the hours itself, you know, the hours themselves. But so that was money for jam. We were really lucky. But I went up to Ben and I remember saying, "Are we telling a love story? Is this a real love story? Is that what we want to do?" And you looked at me and you said, "Yeah." Something like, "Yeah, let's tell a real love story." And in that moment, we just conspired to torture you with every single, because we were both, I said, "I'm really romantic and I just really want to give this everything I can." And I think you were the same. And so it was about just, we knew that we wanted Crichton to be one guy and that this was about his girl, no matter what happened in the twists and turns. And I think personally, it was the most brilliant device I've ever seen to keep chemistry going, to reboot and have that devastation of him looking like the same person but not being the same guy. I thought that was extraordinary, and I grew up watching Moonlighting and all these shows where they had really worked that tension and gone through all the pitfalls. So they were like the canaries in the mine for us before we made Farscape. You know, once you put a couple together, you ostensibly, technically lose the tension, but you guys found a way with such a brilliant device to keep this going and add even more drama and tension, which made it more romantic, which made it way more fun for me personally. But you know, the way that we just flowed together, and Ben would always defer to me and was such a gentleman, so there was always this, you know, ethos on set that then I think made it up onto the screen. There was this really deep respect that we had and have for each other. And you know, Ben would come and say, "See, what's more funny, this or this? And what's this?" You know, I always had to be the straight guy, so we were always sort of figuring out ways to build the story. And I remember Tony Tills saying, "You know, what are we going to do with this elevator scene? We have to have it, but I don't know what to do with it." And I said, "Well, weren't you supposed to teach me how to dance? Hadn't you mentioned that?" And he was like, yeah. And I was like, "Let's do that in the elevator."
Step on my feet.
Yeah. I'm going to step on your feet. You show me how to dance. We'll do it that way. And those little moments that we were allowed to indulge in that filled the space of our relationship so much.
Yeah, and I wasn't being gentlemanly and I wasn't being deferential. I simply believe in the power of collaboration, and I knew the people I was collaborating with all down the line all had better ideas than I could produce in the darkness of my brain. And if you don't entertain the ideas from the people you live with and work with, you are in a lonely, dark, and empty universe. And for me as an actor down in Australia, it wasn't deference. I recognized her genius, his genius, her genius, his genius. And when Kent came down, I think the first time I saw Kent, I've never seen an actor find his light faster. This is not a lie. I'm pretty quick at finding where the good light is, so it's pleasant. Kent is so accomplished. He saved us. I mean, and then he would deliver this incredibly centered performance. What I'm saying is that it was very easy to create a romance which is brilliantly written and which is acted with some of her magnificent talent.
Well, horribly, we are out of time. I suspect we could go on for hours here, but thank you all for showing up.
Thank you all very
Thank you all for support, and one more round of applause for Farscape.
Before we wrap up, can we take a photo with you guys in the background? Can you all stand up and we'll share it on
Thank you
social
guys,
media
everybody. Thank you.
and share the love of Farscape?